So welcome back to the channel. In this video, taking a look at the CPI data coming in today. This from the US. This is going to be a lead indicator for the markets as to whether we make new lows or potentially can hover around this level, maybe even rally from this point. I think it's quite a big day due to the fact we can see from previous iterations what has happened after the CPI prints and what the Fed is forced to do once the CPI prints do come in quite hot. So let's have a little look at this data here. If you like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. But starting off with these blue lines, these blue vertical lines that I've posted here are the CPI prints. So back on the 10th of March, 12th of April, 11th of May, 10th of June, and today the 13th of July. And then the red here is the Fed meeting. So this is where the Fed decides to put the rates up, down, or keep them flat. So the next one coming up in around just over 1.5 weeks. So the 26th of July, well, pretty much 2 weeks out from today. So we're going to see the reaction from the Fed based on the data that is presented later on today. So what has occurred previously? So if we just look at the previous CPI prints, you can see that typically the CPI print alone hasn't really dictated exactly where the crypto markets have headed. So looking at Bitcoin here, you can see on the 10th of March, we had the CPI print around that time, big green candle the day before, big red candle on the actual day of the CPI print. And this is a lot of traders getting wrecked, but primarily you just saw a bit of a rally afterwards. There was nothing really to write home about in this, couple days before, couple days after, a lot of anticipation going into the event, but nothing really happening. And the anomaly with this here is that is the Lunar Foundation Guard's spot purchasing of Bitcoin. Fast forward to the 12th of April here, again, CPI print comes in. We sold off into that event. A lot of nervousness in the market. What happens after the event? We moved sideways yet again. Then we fast forward to the 11th of May, and we'd already sold off going into this. So this date here, around the 4th of May, was a previous Fed meeting. So May 3rd and 4th here. They raised interest rates, and thus the markets had already reacted, a big sell-off. But the CPI print back in May actually saw the Bitcoin price just continue sideways. So typically, as you can see from these previous iterations, not a lot happened with the CPI data, but it's the added effect of CPI plus what the Fed do in response that is actually the critical thing here. So what happened on the 10th of June? This was the CPI print that came in very, very hot. I think it overshot the expectations by around 0.3%. So I think it's predicted something like 8.6 and it came in at 8.9. Markets sold off a lot. They anticipated that the Fed will have to increase rates going forward, but this leaves us now with the month of July. What has occurred going into this? Well, we've put in our lowest lows thus far of this cycle, 17.5K cascading liquidations. We know all the drama that's taken place, but we have slowly been putting in higher lows here. So as we are towards range lows, around 19,800 bucks right now. So we're in a bit of a critical position here. If the CPI print comes in very hot today, hotter than expected, you know that on the 26th of July, 27th of July, when the Fed comes to raising those rates, they're probably going to put them up a 75 basis points once more. And the question has to be posed, how much can this market actually handle? So today we have this, we have CPI and core CPI. What the heck are both of these figures? Well, CPI month over month, essentially what was the price of the basket of goods this time last year, i.e. June 2021 versus June of 2022. And that is the figure we're getting today. Predictions for this across a load of big institutions and banks, roughly 8.8 to 8.9% is the consensus right about now. And then we also have core CPI. Now this is a very interesting one. Core CPI is CPI, the basket of goods, but less energy and food prices, which are arguably the most important ones here, and two of the sectors that have seen the highest amount of inflation thus far. So of course you need to have energy and food to survive. So the fact that these are emitted from core CPI is quite funny. But I think what we're going to see here is a pivot potentially if the general CPI data is super bad, that core CPI will be the narrative they move towards to try and to try and pull the wool a little bit over consumers' eyes. But bringing it back to the Bitcoin chart here, essentially, if today's print comes in hot, i.e. over 8.9%, so if we get a 9% print or more, I think the markets could sell off considerably. We're probably going to push at least towards the lows here, somewhere around 18, 19, or even towards the actual 17.5 bottom that's been set thus far. This could set off the next leg down. But if maybe it comes in not so hot, so 8.7% or less, maybe the markets can rally from here. But it's a lot of ifs, ands, buts, and maybes at this point, and a lot of conjecture. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens. So across the markets, most things are pretty much flat today, having sold off over the previous couple of days. The S&P 500 has had 3 days of down, and thus we find ourselves with Bitcoins around 19K, Ethereum around $1,000 flat, and some of these large cap coins looking like they're teetering on the edge of breaking down. One such coin is ADA here. We looked at this one previously just a couple days ago, and we charted this out. So this is kind of the price floor at around 45, 46 cents. And we have this descending wedge down here, which is a bearish chart pattern. And what was happened here, we previously had this area where it was just wicking towards 42 cents, 41 cents. But now we're starting to see price accepted in this region. So it does look like ADA is close to breaking down from here. And of course, with that CPI print, if it does come in hot, these are the kind of altcoins you're going to see start to slowly fall off the cliff further. Pentoshi posted this. He was too bullish, looking for around 50 cent earlier in the year for ADA. Now he says 0.36 or 36 cents seems like a near future target for Cardano here. So putting it around this level about there. So this could be the next leg down for these altcoins if we get some more negative macro headwinds here. But on to today's news, we have Celsius paying off a USDC loan on Aave, unlocking over 470 million of collateral of staked Ethereum. Still white noise, radio silence from the Celsius team directly. We're yet to hear a position statement from them and what is happening with Celsius, customers' deposits, etc. But they are obviously in the background making moves. So maybe we will get a final position, i.e. what is the hole left by Celsius in the coming days. This is one of the final positions they actually have open. So maybe we are nearing that next step being made publicly known. Then we have this, so 3AC in the news once again. So apparently they have gone missing. Suzu and Kyle Davis can't be found, can't be reached. And it seems like maybe they've just left the private keys to some of their wallets just with certain liquidators here. But this court here in the US has given legal authority to subpoena and lay claim to the bankrupt crypto firms' US-based assets. So that US-based assets are now, probably going to be liquidated over the coming days, weeks, months. I do not know how long these processes take, but they have lawyers all over them from all different angles. So Suzu, with his first tweet since the infamous "we're working and cooperating with our partners," that tweet a couple of weeks back, he's now tweeted this: "Sadly, our good faith to cooperate with the liquidators was met with baiting. I hope they did exercise good faith with the Starkware token warrants, however." So he releases 2 letters from a lawyer here talking about these Starkware tokens. So it seems they had the option to buy Starkware tokens on July 5th, but it looks like this has not been executed, and he's taken to crypto Twitter here to air the dirty laundry. But what the heck does it actually mean? Well, a little thread here. So this translates as follows by Bucky Cantor: 3AC probably owns equity and warrants, or warrants being the ability to convert 2 tokens at a set price on a date/trigger, aka the right to buy these tokens at favorable terms. But the liquidators now control the 3AC wallets in question with this, and the deadline to exercise this right has now passed. So this sounds like there's none of these Starkware tokens. A highly promising tech layer on Ethereum here, Starkware. They probably will be very lucrative tokens in the future, but it sounds like none of these tokens have been bought, and thus no token exposure for 3AC creditors. 3AC creditors actually includes Suzu himself. So I think this is why he's taken to the Twitter to air this. So analysis 1 of 2, the TradFi liquidator could reasonably believe that their goal is to recover what they have and not focus on getting tokens in startups, but it seems weird not to exercise the warrant, assuming a strike price, i.e. the actual cost to 3 arrows, is de minimis, i.e. a very lucrative price to have bought those tokens. Analysis 2, strange for Zoo to actually post this as a purely one-sided evidence after a long silence. And does this actually prove anything? He's just given one side of the statement here. But even if this is true, it won't help Zoo in the end. And his goal should now be to keep his assets and avoid criminal charges. So a load of Startware tokens, 3 Arrows being one of the biggest VC firms in crypto. So they probably had a huge amount they could have bought up here. Those are no longer being sold to them. More tokens for Startware's treasury, and more bad news for 3AC. But the combination of this, Suzu moaning on Twitter, and also the US-based assets for the firm being now, liquidatable, it seems, just means there's probably a lot more selling to be done here. We've heard many industry experts say 90% of the liquidations have now taken place. Maybe this will be the final 10%. And then a note on safety. So CZ actually posted over the last couple of days, there was a Uniswap V3 exploit, and someone was draining a ton of ETH, 4,295 ETH, drained, sent to Tornado Cash, and washed. But this was not an actual exploit with Uni V3, which is kind of what's insinuated here by CZ. But the actual scenario, which is cleared out here, is that Uniswap V3 was not exploited, but a phishing campaign for their LPs was the reason for the exploit. So let's just jump into this. And as a reminder of safety, when you get random tokens sent to your wallets, so if you've got an Ethereum-based wallet, you've interacted with a load of different contracts, you've maybe done some NFT transfers, sometimes you'll either get airdropped random NFTs or random ass tokens. This is why you should probably keep a spreadsheet of all the transactions you make yourself, i.e. do you know that you bought this coin? Do you know that you bought this NFT? Because if you interact with that NFT or coin, sometimes you are approving it to be sold, for example, and in the background, you're setting approval for them to do all sorts with your wallet. And this is the kind of scam that the Uniswap LPs have fallen for. So yesterday, some Uniswap LPs unfortunately fell for a phishing scam, a problem too often and too common in crypto. So what is it? So the phisher here airdropped malicious tokens to Uniswap LPs wallets. The name of the token directed users to a malicious interface that claimed the users could swap these tokens for Uni. Clearly, those people then went ahead, set approval for all in this transaction, and if this happens, approved in the user's wallet, this gives the attacker the ability to redeem all of the user's V3 LP tokens for their full underlying value. So handing over the ability to sell those LP tokens. This is a good reminder for wallets and other interfaces to be vigilant about hiding spam and tokens with URLs in their name. It says protect yourself from phishing by checking domain names. We operate primarily under the name uniswap.org. Any airdrops that direct you to unofficial domains are phishing attempts, and attacks like this can happen at any time on any platform. So be aware. That is the message from this. And as you can see, even professional market makers and LPs are getting phished at this date and time still. So be on high guard. If there's anything in your wallet that you don't know about, just do not interact with it. So that is all from today's video, folks. Check out the question of the day down below. Give me an answer and I will see you in the next one. Subscribe if you're new. Goodbye.